your treatment approach was a pie chart and it was related to time, how much of your time as a percentage is spent manual therapy versus movement?
I think it's changed. I'm doing more movement. I'm doing more movement exercise now. I think I got before it was honestly probably like 60 to 70% manual therapy. Like it was pretty high. And now I'd say it's not going to say maybe 50-50. I also don't treat very much. So my end is kind of low. But I would say like I still do manual therapy. Like for me, that's where that's what I enjoy. And so my bias is I enjoy that. I get it's time I get to hang out with the athlete and just kind of talk through and just shoot the shit essentially, and just get to know them better as well as get to have them understand me. And so I will say I'm moving more towards exercise now though. And so I'll throw maybe one or two spots. Like we had worked on someone the other day, and I think I did one spot, and then got him back up and started doing exercises. And so I think at least if I am doing manual therapy, I'm spending less time. I'm I think I'm defining more kind of what I want to get out of this.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll spend more time if it just seems a guy who doesn't want to do exercises, or it's a maintenance, like he doesn't really want to do much. But if it's a guy in need who is either missing time or potentially missing time or on that spectrum, I'm gonna do more exercise than manual therapy.
So is that enabling him by, if he doesn't want to do movement, then you feed into the manual therapy?
Yeah, and depends. It depends. So, for instance, it would depend on age of the guy, where he's at in the stage of rehab, how good of a relationship do I have with him. So, if it's someone who I just met, I'm probably going to do my bread and butter and just do manual therapy until I start getting more rapport with them, and then start introducing some exercises as well. Once I, hopefully get them hooked. So, to use an example I had in spring training, basically it was people knew I was the boss, but no one knew me players wise. And so when someone wasn't available, like another athletic trainer wasn't available, I'd be like, hey, I can grab you. I'm certified in being able to touch you, essentially. And then, all right, fine, let's do it. And so I work on them, and I hopefully make a positive change. So next time they came in, they would ask for me again, and or they could, hey, like that thing you did on my shoulder, can you do that again? And then I go, yeah, but like, hey, let's start adding in some exercises to kind of, and then now that they saw a positive change, let's keep some exercises so we keep it there, or we prevent you from having to come in and get as much pain like we did last time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll throw some stuff in there that way. It depends on my relationship with them. So if, like I said, if it's a rehab, if it's a guy who just wants a quick maintenance, like some soft tissue love, then I think that's going to dictate what I do.
Sure.
Is that
I think
fair?
we should be conscientious of, this is specific to, maybe it's not, but specific to our profession, at least because that's what I know. But we should be careful of what kind of tone are we setting, especially with younger guys. So are we treating them like we would a major leaguer? How is that going to be different? Obviously, we are going to treat them different, but I think the dependency on us should not be super strong to where they're developing their prep programs, developing body awareness, what they're feeling, what's normal for them. That should be encouraged by us, but I don't think that they should look to us as their main resource and we have the answers for them, because a lot of times they have the answers. So, and I'm not saying what you're doing is wrong. I think that that rapport is huge. It's just, what other ways can we think of how to develop that relationship? Can that time be used differently to where you have them, you do a couple little moves manual therapy wise on them, get them to stand up. What do you feel? Maybe after that you move into a movement therapy thing, and then have them get back on the table and then do some manual therapy on them again. Maybe that's not a trick to them, but it's it's they might perceive like, okay, we did some different manual therapy things. Like I felt like I was constantly stimulated. Like what are some creative ways that we can think of treating, especially with these guys that they're still learning the organization system. So when it comes to the big leagues, they can identify, this is what I'm familiar with feeling, this is what helps me, and it's more of a conversation versus they go to you and say this hurts, what do I do? So
Yeah,
just
gives them a little autonomy, and there's an athletic trainer in our organization that does that very well, and it's in a position where you have younger, these guys are just getting used to baseball, and they're impressionable, just figuring out how to play, how to deal with their bodies, how to go through the grind of 142 games. And so I think asking those questions of, instead of just, hey, me doing all this, every single time, which shouldn't be done anyway, but it should be, hey, what, like you said, what are you feeling? What's work, like, what have we done in the past that's worked for you in this case? And then kind of start making them think, or, hey, what are some things that bother it, or what are some things that make it better? And then we start talking down that rabbit hole with them. So I think it gives them a little autonomy for that in itself. Trying to think, I had a point I wanted to double back on. Oh, okay, and yeah, and so I think we can coach it through. So, for instance, you're saying like, how can we get some like sneaky exercises in? And so, say in my mind, I know this guy is whatever compensation pattern, and I know I want to get him out of, let's just say, someone who's super extended and using their erectors, using calves, all those guys, lats. I want to get them in a spinal flex position or something that will inhibit those large muscles and maybe get some posterior expansion in their back. And so instead of manual therapy, or instead of saying, hey, let's go grab a balloon, or let's go do some breathing exercises, instead of that, we say, all right, we're going to go hold the bottom of a squat for 20 seconds and you're just going to breathe in this position, or we're going to whatever it might be, something where it gets them in that position that you're trying to elicit. I think that can be semi sneaky of getting exercises that you want. And so it's not tricking them, but it's getting them to understand better movement for scenarios that they're having issues in. And so once they figure out, oh, this exercise really worked for me, they're basically going to take it and run with it and say, oh, every time, pre-throwing, I do this exercise now because it made me feel good this one time. And so that kind of starts a habit or a ritual for them. And I think that's a big thing, is creating, I'm not going to say habits. I like to say habits, but creating a process for themselves, just like we're talking about for ourselves, manual therapy and exercise selection and evaluation. They should have a process where they need an hour and a half or 45 minutes to get themselves ready. And they understand that, maybe they don't need to do the same exercises every single time, but they have like a flow chart that they're going to go through, and they know they need to check each box, whether it be a breathing exercise or manual therapy with me. They have, their one check box and they go to the next thing and whatever it might be. And so I think that's an important part, especially for the younger levels as well.
I think there's nothing more dangerous than when an athlete walks in and you're swamped in the training room, especially at an affiliate. You're the only one in the training room. You have 5 people in there. Someone walks in, they're just waiting on you to tell them what to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen sometimes, but the more you can minimize that and you can get them to the level to where they say, this is what I've been doing, this is what's been working for me, or at least this is what we've been practicing, to where they're thinking, it's got to be, there has to be thought coming from them as well. I mean, they do the same thing when they're throwing a bullpen or when they're watching video of hitting. They're thinking about it. They should take that ownership as well when it comes to their health, and
Mm-hmm.
it's up to us as well to educate them and transfer those messages so that we say this is what we're trying to go after and this is our intention. Some guys aren't really going to care to hear it, but that should at least be a conversation to where, again, they know our why, so that they can help themselves instead of, hey, what do I have today? I'm waiting on you to press on me.
Yeah, I mean, it always comes down to education. I think we're also part teachers, right? And so we want to give them, like we want to be servants. We want to help them. Sometimes we have to help them by being a teacher, by being a friend, being someone that can give them a process or at least help them find their own process. Um, I mean, just like anything else, like the biggest thing is awareness. If they're not aware they need to do this, or they're aware of things that can help them, whether it comes from a session when you have time in the training room and you do some stuff with them, and then you take them through routine, you explain the things that you're doing and why you're doing them, they can get some autonomy that way. And just like you said, like you're swamped in training room, they come and go, hey, remember that stuff we did before? Yeah, go try a couple steps of those and come back and see if that's not better. Or you have a conversation in the dugout and they start brainstorming some stuff in between innings or whatever. Yeah, there's always time. There's always time to, I think, teach. And I think that's a big thing of not just leading by example, but being there to help and let them understand, like understanding what their why is and figuring out how you can help. Because it makes your life easier, right? If a guy comes in and instead of having to get frustrated at him not knowing what to do, if you had taught him what to do and gave him opportunities and gave him the best chance of succeeding and doing his own stuff, then he wouldn't need to be in there. And so I think it comes down. That's the hard part too. Is some guys just want to be babied. Some guys just want to be handheld.
Yeah. Agreed.
Or you find the guy who has a 2-hour pregame routine, and then that's could be almost overkill. And you look up and he's staring at you while he's doing his vision training. You're like, oh.
And sometimes those people end up being the most hurt people. So it really makes you wonder, are they really preventing injury?
I mean, that dude had the longest EMR sheet I have seen. We had, we had a doc come in one time to the stadium, and I think he just wanted some Voltaren for, just to have for the season.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like just in case. And so the doc comes in, he literally just grabs him in the room and goes, Doc, I need some Voltaren. And he goes, okay, for what? And he goes, pick a body part, dude. And he's like, I got elbow tendonitis, I got broken fracture, or tomato, like whatever. And so it was just a funny scenario. He did wind up getting his Voltaren.
Get explained pulled muscle.
Yeah. And then I think, yeah, he was a funny dude.